So I have an issue, a slight issue, you could say, and that's that I've gotten really into the abridged style of content, like that genre of YouTube. If you go on YouTube into the search bar right now and just type the word abridged, all of the top results, I fact checked this like 5 minutes ago, are what I'm talking about. Um, where you just take an established story and then you tell it in the least serious way that you can get away with, which, given that it's YouTube, is not very serious. But at the same time, a lot of these shows will straight up lean into and improve on aspects of the source material, and it seems like a really fun writing exercise because I mean, let's be honest, it is basically fan fiction with flashing lights and moving colors, and I want to try it. However, um, couple things. Most of these projects, are not finished, and I know that there are two major reasons for that. Number one, wrangling people is difficult. Like, you can't really do one of these just by yourself. You need voice actors for it, like a wide range of voice actors, usually. Sometimes someone will voice every character themselves, but I find that a little bit less charming personally. And the second problem is obviously that you're working in the parody space, and YouTube's copyright system is not robust enough, or more accurately, it's too lazily put together to for that to be a quite recommended course of action to work actively in the parody space of creative, because it's fair use, but uh that doesn't, the courts care about fair use. YouTube doesn't really care about fair use. YouTube cares about what keeps them specifically out of court. But if we just gloss over those two massive hurdles, the whole me not knowing enough people that I can just go ask people to voice act in something, uh, and secondly, the fact that it's a copyright landmine. If we just ignore that, the much stupider problem that I'm having is deciding between two specific projects, and not necessarily in terms of like what I do, but what order I do them in, which, knowing the pace I finish projects at, is which one I have a chance of finishing in the next remainder of my lifetime. But the two front runners here are Magic the Gathering Abridged and Death Note Abridged. And the things that appeal to me about a Magic the Gathering, right? On the Magic the Gathering pros side, we have the fact that there's a ton of story content. So, the idea, the pitch of abridging is actually really useful to people. Like, just having a shorthand version of the story available in a more digestible format than, oh hey, here's 70 articles on the Wizards of the Coast website from the past like 2 decades. It's like, what do you mean? How long have those been there? And the answer is, for the past 2 decades, they're all dated. But just taking all of that stuff and taking all the Magic memes, because and condensing it all into a digestible format. I'm probably starting with like Magic Origins, because hey, that's a reasonable place to start. Is what my writing group settled on. And second of all, starting in Magic Origins, that lets us completely dodge the mending. Like, we get to just ignore that happened. We have to explain it retroactively for the Bolus arc to make sense, but we get to do the Bolus arc. And by Bolus arc, I mean War of the Spark arc, which is an arc from Bolus's entire, like, Bolus has been around really long time, guys. Like, this is what I'm talking about. The Magic story is so long, compressing it down and telling people, hey, here's the actual lore of the card game, by the way. You knew it existed, but here it is. Look at it. It's funny. We made it funnier. That seems like such a slam dunk. The issue here is, hey, in terms of the visuals, we're a little bit in the uncharted territory. Not completely uncharted territory. There's actually a couple of very specific templates that I would be working from as inspiration when I edit this series. Basically, I would just like it would just be like a stupid little puppet show. Like cut card art up and fling it around the screen. I don't know enough about Warhammer to really get the joke of the Emperor text-to-speech series, but that's exactly the editing style that I'm picturing for Magic the Gathering Abridged, right? And it's not like we're short on art assets. We have literally every Magic card ever printed to pull from. But some of the cons of this is that, hey, again, it is very long. That is a huge project to undertake, especially where I have to storyboard the visuals from scratch. Also, Magic the Gathering has kind of a ridiculous number of characters. I just looked it up. There are 75 legal Planeswalker types, meaning types for the Planeswalker card type, subtypes of the Planeswalker card type. 75. That means that 75 named characters are story relevant enough that they got a card. That's not all the Planeswalkers, and Planeswalkers are not the only characters in the story. And so the amount of story to cover is incomprehensible, and the amount of characters in that story is just, I mean, there's absolutely no way that I could even, like, it's not even on the table to not reuse voice actors. Like, people would be playing probably a dozen characters each, and I mean, that just sounds confusing to me. Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, we've got this Death Note Abridged here. I already made an intro just for fun, as an editing exercise, just as a project that was not intended to actually follow through. I was not going to follow through on it. I just made this little looping animation here. It's not designed to loop. It's not a perfect loop. The point is, I made that just to check whether the song I had in mind would work with the visuals, and it does. I'm not playing the song because it's copyrighted music, so I have it muted. But based on the length of the intro and, like the context of the entire thing being a parody project, I'm pretty sure I could get away with it. Also, I'm pretty sure that the song has been uploaded illegally anyway. Like, that's kind of my benchmark for music copyright on YouTube is, hey, does the first page of search results for the song title turn up like 8 channels with a lyric video where the slideshow is slightly out of sync with the actual verse changes in the music? Because I don't think all of those people got clearance to post that video. And they're just giving you the song. This is much more transformative than that. And one of the pros of Death Note is that it does have a tighter cast, and a lot of those characters are kind of archetype characters. Like, they're not. It's not that they're stock characters, but it's the way that they're defined is very easy to translate. I feel like in a way that would be both reflective of the source material, which you don't want to completely depart from the source material, but also different and in a funny way. Because you can make fun of most of these characters, because even though the show has this dripping grim aesthetic layered all over it, most of these people are ridiculous people. They're Another thing that I personally very specifically want to do with Death Note is make a bunch of references to the musical. There's a Death Note musical, and the people who already knew that will think that any reference I make to it is funny, and the people who didn't know that are going to, be forced to reconcile with the fact that there's a Death Note musical. Now, I'm not talking about, like, overt references, like direct overt references, although just casually snipping lyrics for lines of dialogue, kind of funny. But I do think that some of the themes in the Death Note musical are actually pretty, like, fun, just interpretations. Like the way that Light has the weather metaphor woven throughout his side of the soundtrack, and L has the computer metaphor. Like, those are neat. I like them. And I don't think those are based on the source material directly, but I don't see them as a jarring addition either. And so just working with those ideas that have already been brought up in a different adaptation, that seems fun. And also, Death Note has, like a lot of bad things happen to a lot of people that kind of deserve it. And so you can you I'm talking like I'm trying to convince you to make the series so I can watch it. No, but if I made a Death Note abridged series, whose sense of humor I could steal for like a lot of the dialogue? That's right, the world famous podcast hosts Charlie Day, Glenn Howerton, and Rob McElhenney. I mean, tell me with a straight face that you think that's a bad idea. That you think Death Note, the plot and visuals of Death Note, with the dialogue writing style of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, isn't gonna work. You want to tell me that that's not funny? If you want to tell me that that's an unworkable pitch, okay, fair. I mean, it's not for everyone, I guess. But that's the trick. I wouldn't be making it for everyone. I'd be making it for me. Now, one thing that is kind of an issue is it's going to be harder to edit because I have to learn how to lip sync animation. Also, I have to figure out where to get the animation. I mean, Death Note is available for free on YouTube, on the Viz Media channel in America. But the issue is that footage is subtitled. It's hard subtitled. The subtitles are baked onto the video file itself. It's on the screen. It's not in a caption file. And so I can't just turn them off. And so I don't know where exactly to get a clean copy of the footage, like a complete clean copy of the footage that I would need to edit this whole thing. And then, even if I had it, that's a lot of lip syncing to do, especially if I write just shouting matches between characters. And also the pacing is a question because there's a couple things I could do. Number one, I could use the anime's pacing, but the anime's pacing is a little bit not great because they adapted the second half of the manga into less than half of the show. And so the near and mellow stuff is all rushed. And if you wanted to extend it out to the length of the first half of the show, you would either be cutting a lot of footage from the first half of the show, or you'd try to expand the second half, and you just would be working with footage that doesn't exist. Like, you'd have to reuse footage constantly. And the second half of the series is the less popular half of the series anyway, so it's like you're putting in a lot more effort than before for something that people constantly cut because they don't like it. Like, how many adaptations of Death Note actually go into Near and Mellow? And the answer is the anime did. Possibly some of the live action. I don't know how many live action versions of Death Note there even are. I think it's at least 3 separate continuities, plus the Netflix movie, which I'm not counting as a continuity because it should not have continued past, the first draft. But I mean, like, I'm gonna keep referencing the musical because I'm just going to keep hammering it into your head specifically, you right now, in this moment. I'm going to keep telling you that there's a Death Note musical. And the Death Note musical ends with the end of the fight between Light and L. Near and Mellow are not mentioned. Light literally dies on stage at the end of the Death Note musical, which is a spoiler for the Death Note musical, but not a spoiler for any other Death Note continuity because it's a change that the adaptation made. Haha. Do you even need to spoiler warning Death Note anymore? I have no concept of when anything came out because I don't watch things when they come out. Like, as far as my brain is concerned, the difference between a show that I watched 1 year after it came out and a show that I watched 40 years after it came out is usually just the file quality. Like, actually just straight up the resolution of the show is generally what is gonna distinguish those between each other. Like, oh, I can tell this is old because they literally had not invented the type of camera they would be using now yet. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about what kind of camera they had access to while discussing an anime. That makes sense. But that's a thing adaptations do. They sometimes just write out near and mellow, and they just end on L. And it would be super easy to do that in an abridged adaptation, but I don't necessarily think it's the right call, because part of what makes the parody format, and this crosses even further into the line of fair use because now you're critiquing the source material. You can fix things subjectively speaking, but if you have a problem with the way something is handled in the original version of what you're rewriting, you can just not write it that way, or you can actively make fun of the fact that it's written that way. Or you can do both at the same time. And so I'm pretty sure it would make sense to do the near and mellow stuff, which is why near is in this intro, by the way. Hang on. Hang on. And there he is. Yeah. I actually did do test edits of this for like season 1 and season 2 where it was even shorter, and those didn't work quite as well. Using the full length of the segment of the song that I'm using and populating it with specifically that season might work better, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get such dynamic footage for season 2, because the season 2 intro is I mean, the second Death Note intro is definitely, it has dynamic footage, but it's a you know, the parts of the second intro that I meshed with the first intro are the parts that don't look like a drug trip. Not that I'm qualified to make that comparison, but the thing is, right, if I commit to doing near and mellow, then setting them up in the first half of the series is also like really tempting, just to tie things together a little bit more. And yet, if you reference the least popular characters in the show before they're strictly relevant, I don't know if that's I don't know how good that is as a marketing decision. But you know what? I dropped marketing. I literally stopped taking the class because I thought it was boring. So I don't know how long I intended this video to be. It's definitely past that runtime. It's significantly longer than it should be in any situation. But I also just wanted to upload something because, you know, if you only followed me on the platforms that I actually think are worth following me on, which is the places where I do all my creative stuff, which is my YouTube and my own websites, moriandy.net, isakara.wordpress.whatever, not .whatever.com. That was actually more effort to say. I would forgive you for believing I had perished. I've been dropped off the face of the earth for however long, and that's disconcerting. I should stop doing that. I've been pseudo-active on Twitter. I also just started using Tumblr, and it keeps sending me murderbots. I don't know what murderbots is, other than Tumblr keeps sending me it. Is this a threat? I didn't engage with anything murderbots related. The For You page is just feeding murderbots content directly to me, and it won't stop. I actually do ignore them. I don't engage with these posts. They keep showing up. They're coming for me. They should definitely make the Killbot creature type eternal legal, by the way. Right now it's trapped in silver border land. We don't even print cards with silver borders anymore. What am I talking about? By the way, I don't need to call dibs on something for my own project because who's going to contest me on the thing I'm in charge of? But I'm pretty sure I would be playing Jace Beleren if the Magic the Gathering Abridged ever gets underway. Because we know Jace Belleren's canon voice. We have access to it. He narrates a few of the set trailers. And it's just like a normal voice. He just sounds like somebody. Like, this is one of the central characters of the Magic storyline. This is such a fun dude to write for because his life story is just unhinged. And all I would have to do to voice this guy is, like, slightly talk up from my natural cadence, if I remember correctly. Dude, do you have amnesia again? What's amnesia? See, the problem is I would probably also have to voice act like 75 other people that I know very little about. Didn't I try to end the video already? Why am I still talking? You know, it is actually really, really fun just to kick ideas around, just to kick dialogue around for Death Note Abridged. Um, and I already edited the intro. Like I already put the little, I already put the little circle zoom wipe in L's eye in the middle of the intro. Like I frame by frame that. Okay, you see this? You see that's light. That's not L. I put it in light's eye. I forgot which character it even was because I was too laser focused in on getting the circle wipe correct. I promise these visuals actually fit the lyrics of the song that I chose. I haven't told you what song it is yet. Oh no, my unsaved changes. Anyway, follow me on Tumblr because I'm trying to figure out how the website works, and I feel like that would be easier if people were harassing me there. So, you know,